So here we answer the question, what if we would say that the amount of sediment that's in Tuttle Creek right now is fine. We can live with that. The sediment pool is 100% full, but we don't really want any more sediment accumulation because that starts getting into benefits, water storage and recreation benefits. We took that approach and said, okay, it's year one. We're either going to start putting money towards BMP implementation in the watershed or start dredging it because we don't want much more accumulating. Well, we could, BMP implementation is economically preferred to dredging for the first 288,000 tons of sediment per year if dredging costs $6.28 a ton. This is equal to $881,000 of annual budget. So we could spend up to $881,000 per year in Tuttle Creek on BMP implementation before dredging becomes a good alternative. But this is assuming something very critical here. We're assuming that this BMP implementation is done in this optimal, cost-effective targeting approach, which may or may not be realistic. If we can't do cost-effective implementation, it's not an option, then dredging actually becomes much more economically feasible. Didn't get into the question of whether or not it's politically, socially feasible, but just looking at the numbers. Average cost of sediment reduction without targeting, so if we just do a random BMP implementation, the average cost is 8 times higher than dredging. So it becomes very expensive. So a question might come down to, can we really do cost-effective targeting? If we can't, maybe dredging is something we look at. I don't want to say that too strongly because we aren't considering some of the other benefits, which I'll get to. This is a marginal cost, total cost curve. And, if I was in a group of economists, I'd maybe spend more time on this. This basically shows what I said in words on the last page, on the last slide. Marginal cost curve, this is kind of interesting. This is our $6.28 a ton. This is our dredging costs. These are annual costs per ton. With random application of BMPs, it ranges between $50 and $60 per ton. So, like I said, 8 times higher if you do random. A couple things to note on this table. We did a sensitivity analysis, I guess, on dredging costs. If it was $5 a cubic yard up to $12, and the amount of money we could spend on BMPs if we were doing it in a targeted approach. If dredging costs $12 a cubic yard and we could implement BMPs cost effectively, we could spend up to $3 million a year before dredging would become economically feasible. This table here, I know it's a little hard to read. I just highlighted the one row that I want to focus on. It provides some interesting information. So at $6.28 a ton, we could invest $881,000 per year in a targeted BMP approach. This amounts to 573 BMPs, about half of them being filter strips, half of them being no-till. Permanent vegetation is never really selected or used under an optimal approach because of opportunity costs. You're paying $150 or I don't know if it went that, $100, $125 an acre to a farmer or landowner to convert over to permanent vegetation. That's a significant cost relative to the amount of sediment reduction you're getting from that. In our study, 22% of the cropland is treated with a BMP in that scenario. Okay, as I wrap this up, I don't want to oversell by any means what we did here. I think we provided some interesting insight into the cost of BMPs versus the cost of dredging. So we kind of looked at the benefit of BMP implementation or sediment reduction is the avoiding cost of dredging. We really do a benefit cost analysis, which there's probably ways it can be done. It'd be pretty difficult, which is why you don't see it done very much. You need to know something about the benefits of sediment reduction. Things like wildlife, carbon sequestration, soil productivity, other non-market benefits. So you put in BMPs, CRP, for example, it has other benefits besides soil reduction. There's wildlife, hunting, recreation, things like that.